Greetings, nerds. This is CNN Nerd. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont, and with me, as always, is our Mr. Producer, Will. I am ready, Polk. How are you doing tonight, Will?
I am ready, Sarah. I am so ready. Ready. Let's just jump right to our guest.
Okay, well, fine. I try to have some banter and I get cut off, shut down. I understand. Point taken. Got it.
No.
Tonight we do have a very special guest host with us who is always sharing her love and opinions about Arrow on Twitter. Shelia, welcome to the show.
Hi. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Will. I'm super thrilled to be part of the recap and get the opportunity to recap Arrow, the season finale. Are you serious? Yes, I'm ready. Let's do it.
I can't top it.
That was so much energy. I just fed off of it while we were doing a pre-show. I just want to just let Sheila just get going.
Yeah, but Sheila, so you're like a massive Arrow fan. Have you been with it since season 1?
Yes, 6 years now, counting, and I think I'm going to stick to it, especially after this episode. Yeah.
I think you've made the commitment.
No. I constantly get annoyed and say, "Oh, that's it. I'm out." But I think I'm damaged already by the show. So no, yeah, I'm sticking with the show. I love it. It's my favorite DC TV show. So I'm super hyped.
Why is it out of all of them? Because they keep just adding more and more DC TV shows. But why is this one your favorite?
Well, what I like about Arrow. It's basically I love the action part of it. I think it excels when it's doing its action sequences and the choreography and all that. But I like the character development. I like that it's more realistic in a way. There's not that much meta humans involved. That's what really I personally like about it. Mm-hmm. I'm really bummed that they started introducing, magic in season 4, and then now they brought the whole multiple universe and all that stuff. But it's part of the multi-universe, the Arrowverse in general. But I especially like Arrow because to a certain extent, right? I mean, as realistic as you can be on a superhero show, right? When a guy is fighting machine guns with his little bow and arrow, as realistic as I guess you can be. I like Arrow because of that. I like that it stays a little bit more grounded and it's a little bit more dark in a way. Although Black Lightning now, I think it's kind of going through that. That's the direction that it's going. But I've already grown from with the characters over 6 years, so I'm really at this point committed to the characters, and that's that would be the reason why I'm sticking with Arrow. And then Steve and Amel, come on, I mean seriously, you have to ask me.
Yeah,
I can be. Yeah, it's that's another reason too.
Yeah. And we talk all the time, or I at least say that I appreciate Stephen Amell almost more so than the show itself.
Yeah.
Just his personality online.
Yeah.
And his interviews and his fan interactions, he created Heroes Villain Fan Fest. And it's behind that, and I think what he does, has been able to gain more fans and more people to the show because of just who he is as a person.
Yeah, definitely, and he's one of those actors that actually engages online with the fan base. I think that's one of the things that I like about Stephen Amell most. Yeah. He stays in contact with the fan base, and he seems to genuinely enjoy the show. So that's contagious attitude as well. So
yeah, it is very his online persona as well as when he's on Instagram or whatever. You're right. It is very contagious. I mean, I actually the Flash actually kind of backed into Arrow from the Flash, and but I found that over time I've grown to appreciate the show, and I think large part of that is is because of Steven and his charisma, and he's just a fun follow on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So season 6, the finale episode, Life Sentence. I I guess my big question, because a lot of us knew how this episode was going to end, we saw it very, well in advance. So did knowing that ending ruin this episode for you guys?
Sheila, you go first.
Okay. Not at all. I'm huge into spoilers. I live for spoilers. So, I don't have an issue with it. I kind of knew what was going to happen, but it didn't really alter my whole perspective of the episode. I was bummed about other things that I guess we're going to get into later as we speak about the show, but no, it wasn't really. It didn't take any of the fun or excitement from me knowing it. I don't have an issue. I know other people do. Other people do have issues with spoilers, but not me. I'm like, give them to me. That makes it more interesting.
Right. I don't generally have an issue with a spoiler because I think any fan of Arrow or The Flash, once you get into that fandom, then you can't go online or check your Twitter without getting some spoilers thrown at you. So you just kind of become immune to it. Yeah. At the same time, I will say, knowing just how this episode was structured, he did the farewell tour. Felicity even calls him out on it. And the whole time I'm just like, okay, let's just get there because I don't really know why we have to have this. Considering I know what's the end result is going to be and how it's written on his face and you just are waiting for that shoe to drop the whole time. I felt like. Will, what about you?
I agree with both of you. As you both well said. Yes, you can't go with these shows. I mean, there's always bootleg photos from the set and other spoilers and things like that. But when you get spoilers, it's just a snapshot. It could be a still photo from the set, but a lot of times you just don't have any context. And so from that standpoint, for me, knowing where things are going with the show, it's always in how well the cast and the director is going to execute the whole episode. And so watching the episode, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a lot of good signature Arrow action as far as the fight scenes, especially right there at the beginning. The showdown between Oliver and Diaz on the roof, even though it was cut short. But yeah, I mean, it didn't bother me knowing that. Okay, yes, he had the farewell tour. Yes, I was hopeful that somehow Quentin wasn't going to die, and for a moment there I was like, hey, he's actually going to get his moment of sunset, but of course they crushed that. They executed that pretty well because it looked like, okay, he got shot by Diaz, and Black Siren should have known that this man has no qualms about doing anything. I mean, hell, he sought down the kid from Juvie Hall to burn up 30 years later. So,
right.
So there was that part of the episode, and as I said, I was hopeful that, hey, Quentin maybe will, be lucky and can have that moment walking into the sunset and have that door open for him to come back and visit Star City, but unfortunately we didn't get that.
Well, regarding the farewell tour, I was so annoyed, to be honest. I just felt like the whole time, every time Oliver went to have a conversation with one of the newbies, the whole time I'm throwing popcorn at the TV.
Yeah, it's on your timeline.
Like, why is it this way? Why aren't... If they were going to go that route, I think it was them who needed to actually offer Oliver and Felicity an apology for their atrocious behavior. That bothered me.
I take a little issue with that one. I think Oliver needed to apologize, and how he treated Felicity and not telling her about his agreement just basically captures everything why he got into this jam in the first place.
Okay, Sheila. Now I feel like we're suddenly in a debate, so I think it's Sheila's turn to respond to what Will just said.
Oh my God. Are we really, like, are we gonna get to that now? The Felicity scene and
Go
Oliver
ahead.
the last. Oh geez. Okay. I have so many issues with that scene. But my problem with it really was more about the camera angles and the directorial choices that were, and some of the writing. Oh God, where do I start? Where do I start? Oliver, what is wrong with you? It's like this is the 6th season, and I feel like Oliver is just going backwards. I had so much hope with Oliver at the beginning of the season. Well, all throughout the season, I just feel like he let me down on the last episode. I just can't comprehend how he made that decision without telling his wife. And yes, I understand what people are saying, that she was going to try to change his mind and this and that, but we're talking about a life-changing decision. This is something that, don't get married if you don't basically understand that. It's just the one simple thing about marriage is that you have to trust your partner and you have to rely on them to make this type of decisions. And when it comes to the moment, the episode before, Oliver was completely saying, the opposite. He was so concerned about not losing William and Felicity and not leaving them. And then he goes and he voluntarily goes to Samantha Watson and gives himself, like, go ahead, take me. So for me, it doesn't make any sense, and then, it's terrible for me. I don't understand. I get what we're trying to do for season 7, and I'm super hyped. I'm super hyped for the new storyline that we're going to get, this whole Supermax and all that. But it's just they could have picked a different dialogue. There were other ways that they could have arrived to the same conclusion without really kind of like destroying Oliver's character development. But I guess they're probably going to get into it next season and give us a scene or two. Every time I feel the writers messed up, they somehow eventually, once they get the feedback from the fan base, they go back and they say, you know what, let's just give them a little scene where we kind of fix or give them, calm them down and give them a little bit more insight into why he did what he did. But to me, it's completely, it just doesn't make sense. It's just the issues that I have sometimes with continuity when it comes to the show. One day we see a certain storyline or certain plots, and then by the next day they do a complete 180 on it. So, it drives me crazy a little bit, but gotta love Arrow.
Well, see, well, and the reason why I said what I said was it's the whole issue of trust and the lack of trusting people throughout the season and breaking up the team because of his trust issues led him to get into this jam where he is having to, if he had talked to Felicity, maybe he could have, they could have together come up with a better solution. Granted, it probably couldn't have because things had pretty much, had run their course as far as him having to out himself, or having to go to the FBI to basically seek their help in stopping Diaz. But that's what I meant by why I thought that he made the wrong choice and not trusting Felicity and with this life-changing decision, and how it falls out with William. Will it, all the things he tried to do, when he stepped away earlier in the season and let Diggle be Arrow, be the Green Arrow, and trying to shield William and always be there for him. And, he broke that promise earlier this year. Now he's, breaking his heart now by, admitting that he's the Green Arrow, and now he's going to be taken away from William, the very thing that he tried to avoid happening to begin with.
Yeah, and didn't he just promise the same thing to William like last episode? Buddy, I'm never going to leave you.
No, he promised it to Felicity.
Yeah.
Yeah, to Felicity and William on that scene where Risa, remember he was telling, in front of Risa, he was telling William, how he just became his dad. And buddy, I love being your dad, and I'm not gonna let Diaz take me away from you. So flip flop, and that's all I gotta say.
Huh.
All right, Sarah, break this down. What's your thought?
There's like a lot of different thoughts. I hear what you guys are both saying. I honestly don't care that he hid the truth from Felicity. I thought I kind of, for my perception, even though it is a breakage of trust, this is where the true Felicity angst always comes from. So as a shipper, I get angst next season, so I'm happy about that. And so something dawned on me prior to the finale that one of the reasons why this season works so well is because you have Oliver go from having a full team of people around him and support and a full family life, and you see it all kind of one by one become dismantled from Kane and Jane's actions to ultimately Diaz's action. And with Diaz, you see him form that kind of support around him with all of his henchmen. Mm-hmm. And he then what the writers did in a very quick way, but made sense, was these last few episodes, they slowly, or they very quickly took everyone that he had placed himself around. He ultimately he became his own worst enemy, much like Oliver Queen does. And he pushed those people away before, and then it was just Diaz facing off against Oliver. And I thought that was done very well. And so in this, I think what the writers were trying to do with the farewell tour was re-cement all of those relationships really quickly, which didn't work for a lot of viewers, and try to make it feel like, no, they are stronger when everybody's together, even though Oliver is withholding the secret. But it's Oliver Queen. He always withholds at least one bit of information at all times.
That's true.
So yeah, quick story, quick opinion, short. That's really how I sum it up. So Diaz survived.
Yeah.
Sheila, what are your thoughts about Diaz surviving and probably going to be seen in season 7?
Oh, I hate Black Siren, and I blame her completely. She had one mission, take care of Diaz. That was the one kill that belonged to Black Siren. If she really wanted to redeem herself and stop flopping in this story, and she failed. Somehow she found a way of I don't know what she was doing. I'm still thinking that maybe somehow she's working with Diaz and we don't know, and they're gonna pull that twist somehow next season. It's hard for me to understand what she was doing because Oliver already had him. Mm-hmm. It's not like she came and helped Oliver to fight the guy, and she thought he wasn't gonna defeat the guy, and she just got in the middle of it. It wasn't like that. He already had the guy. So she did this on purpose. She did it to throw him in the water. She didn't know there was water there. I mean, I don't know what's going on. I don't understand, but I blame her. I blame her for Diaz's escape, and now we have another season of Diaz.
I don't know if it's going to be another full season. If they do it smart, he's going to be that villain who gets killed off in episode 7 or 6. Like they usually have. Lately, I've been noticing a trend with these seasons, how they always start off with one villain at the beginning, and he usually gets killed off either episode 6 or 7 because there's a bigger player in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I think that's what's going to happen. They're probably going to bring the longbow hunters and hopefully introduce the jackals. I would love that if that happens.
Why would you love that? I don't know about them. What are they?
Remember Joe, Slade's son? He's in charge of the jackals now.
That's right.
I'm actually thrilled and hoping that they become part of season 7 because I enjoyed that whole banter with Joe Wilson and Oliver, and he has a personal vendetta now. So that would be really cool.
Yep, that's a good point, and it's an easy way. Even though we can't get Slade back for the DCEU reasons, it'll be a good way to carry that Deathstroke storyline forward. Yes.
Stop trying to make the DCEU happen. It isn't going to happen.
Well, but Deathstroke is on the shelf because of that nonsense.
No, listen, I have a candle next to my bed. I'm praying that Deathstroke the movie flops so we can get Manu Bennett back on the show. So, never say never. I'm actually praying for that. Hopefully it flops.
Yeah, I will say that's never going to happen because they don't make movies. They just like announcing movies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's true.
He's perpetually going to be on ice. But
we can have Joe Wilson then.
Yeah, but that's I didn't think about that until you just raised it. That will be a good villain to have for season 7. And also, I mean, the bows, they don't drop these little hints we're just gonna put this out there. I mean, I think they will also play a role in season 7.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, Slade's always gotta be around, considering what he did in season 2. So, Detective Lance is dead. Are we going to anticipate Earth 2 Detective Lance appearing in season 7?
I hope not. Don't be that.
And I blame Siren too.
I'm with Sheila. If they wanted to do the redemption arc, they should. But maybe they're saving it for season 7, or maybe, with who knows. But my only complaint with this, if they're going to bring Sarah Lance back, they should have given them a moment. But because I don't know how, unless they're going to set this up for some part, and I don't watch Legends of Tomorrow closely, so I don't know if there's reason to do this, but if there's going to be something carry over to the Legends as far as her losing her father and their season 4, then maybe it was the reason why they didn't let them have a moment together before he passed away. But otherwise, as a fan, I was just kind of like, well, if you're going to do it, at least let them have a moment.
True, I agree 100%. I mean, Sarah, after all, was the actual only living child, the one that really should have had at least a small scene with Quentin, and we just got her crying, basically on just looking at her father dead, but we didn't get any interaction, and I felt like that was a mistake in my opinion, because I don't think they're gonna have that opportunity to do it on Legends. Paul now is gonna be with ABC. He's gonna be a lead on a show. It's a bigger network. I'm happy for him. He's gonna be collecting some coins. Bravo. He deserves it. He's a great actor. But I think they deserve the scene, the characters. I just felt like in Arrow, honestly, I just felt like Quentin always had a preference for Laurel, and even after Sarah departed the show, we never heard any piece of dialogue where he mentioned being in communication with Sarah, or I just didn't understand that part of that relationship. He always seemed like he was more concerned about Laurel than he was about Sarah.
Yeah. No, that makes sense, and it probably had to do with the fact that he thought Sarah was dead for 5 years, and when you grieve someone that much and then they reappear, but they reappear as a different version, then don't forget they die again. So then you grieve them.
Yeah.
And
Good
then they
point.
get on a spaceship to go and save time. So I can understand the preference. Now, why he suddenly prefers Earth 2 Laurel over Sarah's beyond me. But,
Well,
I mean, despite them not having a scene together, I really liked the scene between him and Oliver.
yeah.
Because and the only thing that I really wish they had actually said was like when Oliver was leaving the room, if he had actually said son and referred to him as his son, I think that would have just been the icing on the cake for me, because we've talked about it previously this season about that relationship and how Quentin hasn't been used a lot, and I think that since about season 3 they really scaled back, but this season he was used perfectly, and I really appreciate that, especially considering they did have to end up killing him off the show. They did it right.
Yeah, it did. I mean, we talked about that earlier this season, that his arc was pretty much complete, and we were just speculating how, what was going to be next. How would they handle Quentin, and obviously we see the answer.
Right.
And I don't know, I would have liked better if when Oliver was leaving the room, if at that point he would have died of a heart attack there. Like sorry, this sounds so bad. What I mean, let me rephrase that. What I'm trying to say is that
Sarah, you have no room to talk. You were trying to kill Joe West all last year.
No. What I'm trying to say is that we should have seen him pass on camera. Instead, we got this whole Captain lands, sees in the middle of the surgery. I think since we didn't have a funeral for Quentin, and he was such a love character, such an important character, at least we should have seen that scene where he passed and see Oliver's reaction right there. They could have, or the whole group. But I don't know. I understand. It could have kind of looked like Laurel's scene as well, and I think it would have triggered a lot of fans too. So yeah, okay. I guess it was perfect the way it worked.
Yeah, the same hospital room every time.
Yep.
Yeah, like the Lance. I don't even know why they bother. I wouldn't even go there.
Yeah.
I'm like, take me to the bunker. Let's do a impromptu surgery, but I'm not going to the hospital, because if I'm a Lance, I'm not going there. Siren, watch it next season. Don't go there.
Oh man. Well, so I kind of feel like we talked about maybe both of yours least favorite points, and which is surprising considering you both claim to like this episode. So what didn't we cover that you guys really felt like stood out and made it a really good episode?
For me, I think the action sequences were really, really strong. I mean, obviously, Bam Bam, but given his history with, working his way up the ranks and doing, being the fight choreographer in the past, I mean, clearly showed in the direction. But also, even though I kind of knew where things were going, especially when he was given the making amends and speeches with everyone, it was a nice closure episode for this season, because when you think about season 5's finale with the grand cliffhanger, that was just a huge event type of cliffhanger. This one was, what I liked about this episode was it really tied a lot of the threads from all the season up into a nice ending where, after the episode ended, I was like, okay, I felt satisfied, because yes, I know Oliver is going to go off the Supermax, but it made sense. I mean, it just carried this thread throughout the season, and as a viewer, I'm like, okay, I can accept this ending. for this season, and I look forward to season 7 to see how how Stephen teased it on throughout that this is going to be a game changer, and so it truly is a game changer. And now, how do we move forward with Oliver, with the Green Arrow's identity being public knowledge, and the ramifications of that with Felicity and William and the rest of the team as they move forward? And how does the FBI play into this? Are they going to, I hope it's not going to be like, think about a show from my childhood when the A-Team went legit and started working with the government. That was sort of the downfall of the series. So, if Oliver does get out, when he gets out, it's not if, it's when he gets out, how is he going to be, as the Green Arrow, as an outed vigilante? And, and whatever threat that they bring to Star City, how is that going to, now that threat knows that it's indeed Oliver, how is that going to impact Felicity and William, and how do they stay safe, given that his identity is public knowledge?
Thank God for Argus, right?
Yes. John made the right call.
And me personally, I loved it. I know I'm ranting about certain things that I would have changed, but I thought it was a wonderful episode. It had a little bit of everything. The action scenes were really good. I was really impressed with Mr. Terrific. This is the first time that I saw him actually fighting somebody where I didn't feel like he was just terrible. So it makes me think that actually from the previous episode to this episode, they definitely several weeks passed, because he was stabbed the episode before, almost bled out, and all of a sudden he's kicking ass, fighting. So I was excited to see that Terrific got a little better when it comes to the fighting. I wonder if they're going to be training him all through hiatus, and by the time we come back to season 7, he's actually going to really do something else besides throwing balls. So that's it.
The name is T-Spears.
Yeah, T-Spears. Yeah. So I'm happy that I got to see that part, and then the action was really awesome. I was very excited about that, and then the character development parts. I basically cried, I was mad, I laughed. It was like a roller coaster of emotions, and ultimately that's what I think a season finale it's all about. You wanna really get engaged with the episode, and I was really engaged with it. A little frustrated at the end, but I'm very hopeful for Oliver and Felicity and William. I can't wait for Oliver to be reunited with his family. But I'm excited to see what's going to happen in Supermax now. So I felt like it was a different type of finale where compared to last year, but it was very effective. I think they needed to do something different. You don't want to repeat over and over a pattern and make everything just predictable. So I think they actually, we had knowledge of the spoilers and all that, and maybe that lessens the impact of what they were trying to do. But had we not known any spoilers previously, I think it would have been a great season finale and shocker for a lot of people, because they would not be expecting what's going to happen.
Well,
if somebody didn't know about that, I could only imagine being that viewer who's watching and be like, what do you mean he's going to jail? What do you mean?
Or not even knowing that Quentin was going to die at all. Yeah. They had no idea that he was on another show and all that, and all of a sudden you're watching the show and you see Quentin dying, it had to be frustrating.
And I give them kudos for actually following through. Because they've teased this Oliver getting outed multiple times, and they always figured out a trick way. Earlier in the season, the footage was doctored, and there was then they had the trial. They had
Roy.
Roy, yeah, they had Roy, and then Chance, crashing in. So I have to give the creative team a round and applause to actually carrying the outing out, because they could have easily fallen into the little trapdoor of like, oh no, we'll figure out a way for Oliver to keep his secret, but nope, we're going through with this.
Right, and not to like go all the way back to the beginning of this discussion, but when you guys were talking about Oliver's decision, I found it particularly interesting considering that it both sounded like it was perceived as being selfish when Oliver's always being selfish with his decision making. And yet, in a way, this decision ultimately is one of the most selfless things he's done, because he didn't place the blame on anyone else. Yeah. He didn't use any, like, the Queen name or his position in the society or anything to really prevent this from happening. He knew what he had to do. And I think that what ultimately also played into who he kept it from. Because it wasn't that he was going to be talked out of it. It was more that I think he struggles with having to actually have said that goodbye. And so he wanted to, like, it be removed from the table. Like, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Good point.
So, and I like, in that moment with him and Felicity, I really do like that moment where he talks about how they did get back the city. And then he doesn't say it, I don't think. I have to rewatch the scene. But he almost starts to say, but I lost it. Because he ultimately lost everything. Even he basically was like, you guys can have this. I'm going to go away. And I'm the problem. Like, it was just this interesting moment of self-reflection.
Yeah. It was.
Yeah, because I think he was counting on catching Diaz. So that was something that wasn't planned for him. He thought he was going to catch Diaz, so at least he thought that William and Felicity were not going to have that bounty now on their head. But then again, I mean, the counterpoint could be that he ended up outing himself, so that also puts another target on them. But
it does.
Yeah. So I think he was definitely being selfless. He was trying to protect them. He tried to figure out a way to do what he thought was the right thing. But the problem is that Oliver always goes back to the same situation where he just goes into island mode, and by now we were expecting that, after 6 seasons, Oliver would learn his lesson. But I think it's just part of who he is at this point. And Felicity said it back on season 4. There's going to be a moment where he was going to be forced to hide stuff from her, and he would return back to be Oliver, pre-island Oliver, and I don't think in the whole sense of the word like that, but there is always some trait of that in him. Yeah. But she knows it, Felicity knows Oliver, I think, more than anyone else right now in that show, of the characters that we have.
More than anyone else, Oliver fans. Sorry. That's not even a thing anymore, right?
Yeah.
It never was.
It never was.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
At least not in Arrowverse now.
Yeah.
All right. So prior to this finale airing, we got some pretty awesome news of what to expect this fall, and it turns out Batwoman is heading to the Arrowverse. Did either of you look at these articles?
I did.
Okay, so give us a scoop. Break it down.
So
what's going on?
So basically, for our crossover for this year, our heroes are going to end up in Gotham, and we're going to have Batwoman. Kane is Cat Kane is going to be a part of our Arrowverse, and it's going to air in December. as far as the crossover. Don't have any other additional plot points yet, but that was the big takeaway from the upfronts this week.
So it was really funny today. I was listening to some Heroes Villains Fan Fest interviews with the cast, and I think it was the San Jose one from last fall with OTA, and Emily Bett Rickards, in response to one of the questions of what other heroes from the DC universe would you like to see come on board, and she said Batwoman.
Yep, I saw that.
And I wonder if she knew back then. I wonder now if she knew back then and she just said it as a joke, but the joke was on us because she was right. What are the chances?
So right.
Yeah, what are the chances of getting it that right? I don't know. I think she probably knew.
Man, well, I mean, these crossovers seem to get better and better. So
yeah, well,
now that they're doing this, that's going to be pretty epic.
Yeah, and it's only so we have Kate Kane as Batwoman coming onto the Arrowverse, and they've been teasing Ferris Air for so many years, so it's just a matter of time before Green Lantern shows up. I mean, because
very nice, very subtle there. Will continue.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've been talking about Gotham was always name dropped and those kind of things, and Wayne Enterprises and stuff, and so we knew that they were in this universe, so it's just a matter of time. So maybe next crossover we'll have Hal Jordan show up, or maybe Jon Stewart.
Is there a female version of the Green Lantern?
There has been. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but
because at this rate, that's what we're gonna get. Because with Supergirl and Batwoman, that's who gets TV shows.
Yeah.
Not the DCEU movies, but the TV shows.
Yes.
Oh, man. Well, it has been so much fun talking with you both about the season finale. Sheila, thank you for coming on board with your enthusiasm and your facts. So we appreciate it.
Oh, I'm super excited. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, where can our listeners find you on Twitter?
At TVFan. No, I can't say my username. It's a little wild.
Go ahead. We're.
Are you sure? I don't think I can.
You can.
Yeah.
Well, oh God.
We're gonna tag you, so folks
own
will know.
it.
Yeah,
Sheila,
but I own it, but I don't know if it's this podcast PG. Can we do this? My username is TVFan Maniac in the motherfucking house. Yeah, that's my username.
Okay.
TVFan Maniac in the mother house.
All right.
Is that okay?
That's
okay.
Fine. There you go. All right. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I had a blast.
Have a good night.
Okay, you too.
We'll see you next season.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll have you back.
Definitely.
We'll definitely have you back for next season. Definitely. So.
For sure. Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, so that was fun. She was good.
Yeah. I have never met anybody who can out-talk Arrow to me.
I know. I was like, wow, Sarah, we've met Sarah's match.
Even Carrie can't out-talk it. But,
yeah.
I feel actually she's more of the Will Polk version. Like if you were a fan of Arrow, she would be you.
Yeah. Totally.
All right, let's talk Krypton.
Let's talk Krypton, yeah. All right, so let's see. You can do your intro and your rejoin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We are back talking Krypton, episode 9, Hope. And guys, I'm so sorry. This is the first episode in a while that I've been very disappointed because it made the most annoying mistake and did not answer last week's questions at all. It didn't even pick up where it ended in a way, and it was very frustrating for me, almost to the point where I couldn't really pay attention the first 20 minutes because I was constantly like, come on, where's Adam? Where's Adam? Where is he?
Yeah. I didn't really, I didn't really think about it as much until you brought it up just now, but you're right. It was kind of a time jump because we get that epic ending and that, very heart-wrenching ending last week with, and then we get this. It was very cold. It was a very like, okay. We don't pick up where we were left off, and but that being said, I actually did enjoy the episode.
Oh yeah, it's a fine episode. I was disoriented because not only did it skip over the time, but it didn't say three days later or 2 days later. So you're constantly trying in your own mind, trying to place like, okay, so where are we? And then you start to hear the characters refer to some of the events and what has happened. And they mention Adam Strange, but they mention more as him sacrificing himself for them.
Right.
And I'm like, no, he didn't.
No.
He's somewhere.
He's somewhere in time and space. He'll show up in the finale.
Freaking Strange.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he's back on Rand.
But, and then you're right. I mean, once you get past that and start looking at this episode, they're moving parts. This is the penultimate episode. Yeah. They got to set up that finale, and they really did set it up, and they had a lot of action, a lot of people, and a lot of choices being made. Right from the get-go, you have Lyta choosing to go with General Zod to unleash Doomsday. Yeah. And she didn't tell her mom, she didn't tell Seg, she just left with her future son. Yeah. And from then on, you have a lot of drama and a lot of decision making that'll probably impact the characters in future seasons.
Totally. Yeah, I don't know if we want to jump right to the big like reveal in this episode or
the reveal that I called.
Yes. You win the award for 2018 for calling a big reveal in a TV show because you completely did.
I finally did it, guys. I feel so like vindicted. Like this is my moment.
Or validated.
Validated. I can't even get the word right.
She's so ecstatic. Yes, you should be. And I thought of it. I should have I last week tweeted from our show account, but I didn't want to tag you because I didn't want to spoil it for you because I remember you calling it. So, but hey. Way to go, partner.
Yay. So yeah, what we're basically talking about is the fact that General Zod is a L and a Zod. He is both, and therefore he is Seg's son, which is, it's kind of funny considering how much General Zod wanted to kill Seg this episode.
Yeah. Fortunately, he waited till after he was conceived.
Are you sure? Are we certain that Lyta's pregnant right now?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, when else have they had a moment this season where? Yeah, I mean, I think.
Pilot episode.
Yeah, but I don't think it happened then.
Right.
Yeah, but timing wise, it would have been. She would have been showing by now. So, yeah, I think the moment where they shared at the beginning of the episode was where it happened. Which begs the question, this whole Genesis chamber thing, are people sterile or not? I'm just trying to figure out, because you have all these little babies in the Genesis chamber, but then clearly Seg and Lyta are fully functioning people, so it's one of those things to bookmark for future episode of Krypton.
I try not to think about where babies come from on
Well, I
Krypton.
know. I'm just saying. I'm just thinking like how.
I know.
Yeah, it's like whenever if this is tied into the, um, creative team as far as Man of Steel. I mean, it just begs the question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because wasn't that one of the plot points of Man of Steel was why Kal-El was so special?
It was. It was in the very beginning. They conceived the right way if you're on Earth and the wrong way if you're on Krypton.
Exactly. I know we're going way deeper than we need to go, but it's just,
okay,
but it's just a very,
Polk. You've led us down a very scary path right now, and I don't think that's not my question. At least my question is more about how does this all play out, because even if she is pregnant with General Zod right now and Seg is the father, we know that General Zod was told that his father was somebody who was a soldier and died in war, and his mom never really spoke about him too much. So there definitely is some fallout that will occur, and that relationship will be very, very strained between Seg and General Zod moving forward. And this is the beauty about this show. I mean, they've said it, the creators have said it from the beginning. This is a story of House El and the House Zod. Mm-hmm. And so just by interweaving them that much more, you have that much more potential drama in the future.
Yeah.
And I even, more importantly, this episode, also featured some Zod on Zod action.
Yeah.
Because not only does Lyta in the future not speak about Seg to her son, but she doesn't talk about her mom.
Nope.
And that causes a lot of disharmony to occur, because Jaina is very much on the side of Seg in this decision on whether or not to release Doomsday. And ultimately, in defense of her son, Lyta steps in and takes her mom out. And geez, I mean, her mom just sacrificed everything for her daughter, only for her daughter to come back and put her down.
Yeah, but I mean, it has been building to this moment though, because so it didn't really surprise me when Lyta shot her mom. I mean, it was like, what are you doing? But at the same time, some of the earlier fight scenes and the challenges, the dynamics that they had as far as Lyta being a soldier and her mother being tough on her, and so whenever she did it, I was like, God, you're an idiot. But at the same time, thematically it made sense for her to do that. But yeah, it's one of those things with this show that I think why it's so refreshing as far as storytelling and not being willing to take chances with a very known franchise, that being Superman and the Superman universe, and so it also, I think, deepens that, as you mentioned before, that story, the tensions between the House of El and the House of Zod, in that Lyta is clearly siding with her son Drew Zod, and because and since Jaina sided with Seg, I don't know if it's going to be in the finale or hopefully if it gets renewed in season 2. We'll start to see that schism between Lyta and Seg and build up to that division that we're so familiar with now between Kal-El and General Zod.
Yeah, because man, does General Zod not have a good, high opinion about the House of El at all, and you start to see he kind of goes into a lot of his his disapproval about what that house stands for, which was really interesting to see the politics in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the other hand of this, while all of this is happening with the Zods, you also have Seg and Nyssa.
Mm-hmm.
OTP.
Yep. You think?
Nyssa is such an L.
Yeah, she is. I thought earlier that she was going to flip and end up betraying Seg, but no, it's not going to be the case.
Well, see, that's another interesting thing. I mean, what you were just saying about we're still speculating on how that division between Seg and Lyta occurs. The same thing can be said for Seg and Nyssa, and it's pretty masterful what the writers have been able to do in a very short period of time with both of these relationships, to where you see Nyssa in one scene act very conniving or have some ulterior motives, but then the very next scene she'll be a part of the mission and seem to resemble what House of L stands for, and just to genuinely care for Seg and the people he's trying to protect. So you know that there's something else going on, and that she is a character who could easily switch at any point. But for the time being, he gives her the key to the Phantom Zone, the House of L emblem, and I did not expect this. This is one thing I didn't call, and I'm kind of mad at myself for not, because in the very last scene, you have Brainiac take on Seg, and it's to the point where he was about to kill him, and then Nyssa comes in, and bam.
Yep.
And they set it up in the first scene in this episode.
They did. They
did.
Yeah. But it was so many other things going on during the episode. You're totally forgiven for not picking up on that particular plot point, because it worked though. It really worked.
Well, it worked for about the few minutes where they could get out of the room, because Brainiac is still there.
Yeah, the true Brainiac, which is that whole scene really was, the whole structure of that thing with Black Zero and the Sagittari like working together. I mean, that was, if there was a point in the episode where I did kind of like, okay, maybe wasn't as strong was the Brainiac, basically using those tensions against with the two factions against each other, or the two guilds against each other. Because I was like, okay, that's kind of predictable. That was my only, like, as far as the episode itself, that was like the only place where I was kind of like, okay, okay, I see this. But otherwise, I mean, I thought for penultimate, it did do its job in setting up for the finale. And the other thing I think, as far as what we're going to see, is the fate of Kandor is not going to be solved in season 1.
Oh. Well, I mean, we've got a lot of time before Superman is on Earth, so I'm sure that there are plenty of stories to stretch.
Yeah, and that's going to be one that's going to be stretched.
Yeah, and also, I mean, this is a superhero story, so for sure, Kandor will always be in peril.
Yeah.
And rely on the choices of the characters.
Yeah.
But, and then last but not least, tonight we're going to talk about the Schmoedown, because they had some epic matches this week.
Yeah.
This is, again, I say it all the time, this whole show, or whatever you want to call it, contest, competition, works so much better when we have the champions square off, like the veterans actually compete, because this is what it's all about. We started off the week with the team title match, Patriots versus Above the Line. Whew. I rewatched this match.
Yeah.
That first round, one question threw everything in peril, when you had JTE Trouble in Little China.
Yep.
Right?
Big Trouble in Little China. Yep.
Big Trouble in Little China.
Yep.
He did not include little in his answer and
Yep.
therefore forfeited the point.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go all the way around the table until you get to Drew McWeeny, and Drew just writes thing on his board.
Yep.
And Jeff points out, well, he didn't say the thing.
Yep.
Challenge accepted, challenge denied, point awarded, and from there it kind of set a tone.
Yeah, it did. It did. I was like, anytime you see the Patriots on there, they're just like JTE, and I was like, man, they're just like so much like their NFL namesakes.
Right.
There's always something. Every time I've watched Schmoedown and we've talked about it, there's always something going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's never clean. It's never a clean competition. There's always a challenge or something.
But this time the challenges did not work in their favor.
It did. Yeah,
this time a lot of the decisions that occurred in the match were ruled in favor of above the line. Therefore, the antics didn't work out.
It didn't work out, but again, I think it's more just the fact that there's always drama around them. And I think to your point earlier is why the championship matches are always just so intense. Particular veterans that are participating.
Another big part of this is that I think as soon as JTE fumbled with that answer and forgetting little, the next question I believe he got wrong, and from there on you could tell he was a bit off his game.
Yeah.
And even in round 2, where they played a really good round, a few of the answers that JTE had, Jeff didn't want to say initially, so they had to go to multiple choice, even though JTE was ultimately right. So I think with this team, because, I mean, Will, you're new to this show, but JTE has been known, like, prior to teaming up with Jeff Snyder, he was considerably one of the worst players on the Schmoedown. He would just lose and lose and lose, and then he suddenly became a winner. And I think the Patriots are really dependent on JTE being on his game.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned about JTE, and I was looking on Facebook earlier today as far as one of the Schmoedown groups, and someone like broke down some of the veteran Schmoedown contestants who were kind of on the bubble for at least with singles making it to the finals. And JTE actually is kind of one of those singles match bubble participants. So
yeah, he's a man who can play a really good game on par with any champion we've had, or he's a man who can fumble the football every single time.
Yeah.
And I mean, and it's interesting, especially when you compare him to Sam Levine, who also had a rough start in this show, and now what do we know? The first ever double champion of Schmoedown.
Yeah, total. Yeah, he's just a freaking machine. Even though, if we want to switch over to the singles match, we can.
Let's go.
Yeah. Wow. You talk about just a very fun, like, it was just, I was really, I was really pulling for Carter, for first off, but, that third round, I mean, just to get to how Sam was able to, I mean, it could have gone, honestly, Clark should have won that thing, but she just fumbled on that question. But Sam is just a master. Like when he was going through the lightning round, I mean, he's just like a video game, machine. He's just like, he can just nail. He's quick. He's quick on his feet, and he can answer those questions very, very well. And he built up a little bit of a lead because of that. But
yeah, it's interesting. This match, it was almost lost. Okay, well, first of all, no one got a single answer in the third round right.
Right, yeah. I was sitting there answering. I was like, dang, I should be on there. I was able to get a few of them, yeah. But none of them, yeah, they were like gagging. I'm like, all right, who wants this? Like, who's going to what's the saying? Like, blink,
yeah,
get it first.
I mean, once it gets to the oh wow, why am I blanking now? The lightning round.
Yeah.
It's really is anybody's game, and you get one wrong answer, and then suddenly you're not the winner, even though you played a great game. But I was just shocking that nobody got it. So for me, I feel like this was really all determined by round 2 and what happened with. Neither player played a perfect round 2. Yeah. Both of them had questions that were stolen. You had some multiple choice uses. You had a challenge occur, and really Christian and Mark are to blame for that challenge, because Clark would have been ahead 2 points had they not hesitated on that answer. Like, Sam Levine didn't realize that it was wrong. He just took off, like, the fact that they were hesitant. Yeah. And so he's like, okay, I'll challenge it. Which was smart, because there's a lot of times that the judges will award points to an answer after, a little bit of hesitation and like, do you see this? Do you agree with that? Mm-hmm. And those are the things that people should be challenging, not like the Patriots who get in their own way and use them like just outright.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. But you're right though. I mean that I think that's where I was when I was watching it. I was like, okay, I think Clark could pull this thing off. But I mean, Sam acknowledged it at the end. He's like, look, I could easily not be 2 double champion here. But he, it was just his day. And sometimes, things break your way, and it did for him this week.
Yeah. I mean, they went 4 rounds at the very end, both getting them right. And it's like the show goes back to the first round where it's 1 point answers and you both answer the same questions. You get it wrong, and then suddenly you're behind and you're constantly trying to play catch up. Yeah. So it's now we have Sam Levine, who's a double champion, and the next time we see the team title match, the Patriots will take on Above the Line again. But the twist is, it isn't going to be a normal match. Nope. It's going to be Iron Man.
So explain to our newbies what Iron Man means.
Okay. They've only done this one other time, and it was with Star Wars trivia. It's an epic match. Essentially, the competitors, everyone has 30 minutes, and it's just straight movie trivia. And so it's question, answer, question, answer, question, answer, 1 point apiece each. Mm-hmm. At the end of the 30 minutes, whoever's ahead wins. That's it. Yep. You get 1 timeout, and I think it's a 5-minute timeout, if I'm not mistaken, where they just put everything on hold and everybody can have a breather. But it's just truly question and answer. The most knowledge wins.
It's pretty epic. I do remember that Star Wars match, and if you want to see, go check out the Star Wars Schmoedown, because it truly is Iron Man, and not in the Tony Stark sense, but the obstacle course that's working your brain trivia.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like the free-for-all, where you're just answering as many questions right as you can, and made the last man standing wins. Yep. Yeah, it's a brilliant thing, and it'll be a lot of fun to watch, especially since this is the first time they're doing it with teams, first time with And so I don't know if the team dynamic is going to change the rules, considering we've only seen it in singles. I hope not, because sometimes when it gets too much, like you can talk to your partner, I don't know. It'll be interesting, but it's been a great week in Schmoedown, a great week in the DC TV.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me of the shows this week. It was I definitely needed that, and it was definitely worth the time. Go check it out, folks.
Yep. And Will, where can listeners find you?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at Will and Polk, WILLNPOLK.
And you can find me at SJ Belmont, SJBELMONT. Please follow our crew on Twitter at SNN Nerd. Friend us on Facebook, but most importantly, rate, subscribe, and comment on both iTunes and SoundCloud. You can also find us on the iHeartRadio app. Good night, Geek Out. You're welcome.